call of members and people present on the Zoom meeting. So I will start with myself, Glenn Underwood, Chairman here.
Dennis Green, Vice Chair. Hello?
Yeah, we got you.
Yep. Rory Carmody.
Gotcha.
Jack Donovan.
Got you, Jack.
Russ Crossman.
Got you, Ross.
Laurie Mercier's here.
Hi, Laurie. Gotcha.
And Wazika's here just facilitating.
All right, and thanks, Ed, for helping us through this first technical try here.
No problem.
And we're hoping Joyce figures out the dial-in. So we do have a quorum, and it's good to hear from you all. First thing on our agenda are the March 12th, 2020 regular session meeting minutes. Does everyone, they were circulated out. Does everyone have a chance to take a look at them? And
Yes.
If so, I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes.
I only have one question, if I may.
All right. Hold on one second. We'll get a motion to accept, and then we'll discuss them if there's one, if you have a correction. So.
Fair enough.
All right. The motion was made by Rory. Do I hear a second?
Second it.
Okay. Any discussion? You had discussion, Dennis?
No, oh yeah, I have a, let's see, on page 6, where it says Grassett Property. I think we had the owner, Mr. Diageo. Yeah, I think it should be Mr. Grassett. On page 5, I don't have my glasses on in the dark.
Russ, is the one we're waiting for, is her phone number starting 250?
That's her.
Get the ones from the...
I will bring her in.
Please bring her in.
No, these will work. Never mind, these work.
Her phone is muted.
I'm unmuting her now.
She's not unmuting.
Dennis, did you have a, Joyce, can you hear us?
Still looks like she's muted.
I'm trying to unmute her.
If you brought her back to an attendee,
I'm trying, it won't let me. I don't know how she came in.
she came in using the invitation as a participant. Oh, no, she couldn't have. She must have used the generic ones off the
Exactly. Russ, give her
agenda.
Give her the number.
Hold on. Let me write her number down. 250-6395. I'm gonna leave for a few minutes, call her. You guys do your thing. I'll be back.
Okay.
She just dumped out.
All right. Dennis, did you find your comment that you had on the minutes?
Page 6,
Yeah.
Grassett Property, we have the owner as Diageo, and I believe it's supposed to be Gary Grassett.
Yeah.
Because we were talking about that piece of property
Mhm.
Okay, I see you at the bottom of page 6 there.
Yeah, right.
The owner is yeah, Mr. Grassett. So we have a correction there to make on the bottom of page 6.
Got it.
Okay, you got it. Thank you, Laurie.
Yeah.
All right. With that correction, were there any other comments, Dennis, that you had?
That's all that I found that stuck out. I thought was critical. That's it for me.
Okay, yep, that's just clarifying the right owner. All right, so the motion to accept the minutes, and it's been seconded. We have one correction there in the name to be Grassett. That's going to be there. Any further discussion on the minutes?
No.
All those in
No.
favor of accepting the minutes as with that one name correction, say aye. And
Aye.
just say your name.
Rory.
Aye.
Dennis?
Dennis.
Jack Donovan.
Aye. Okay. And aye for Glenn Underwood.
Rory.
All right. So the minutes, and I got your Rory.
Thank you.
Minutes have been passed. Any opposed? So voted. All right. We'll go to the second set of minutes, and that was from the site walk, which was pretty short minutes of the McGuire property. That's the one off of Trestle Trail that we did our hike. Did anyone, do I hear a motion to accept the minutes as?
Motion to accept.
Okay, I have a motion from Jack and a second from Rory. Any further discussion on the site walk minutes? Okay, all those in favor of accepting the site walk minutes say aye.
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 Okay, so I got an aye from Jack, an aye from Rory,
Aye from Dennis Green.
aye from Dennis Green, aye Glenn Underwood. Any opposed?
No.
Okay, so voted. So the minutes have been from both have been passed. Okay, hold on one second. All right, going back to the agenda here. We got the new business next, and I think tonight, because we're just learning this and we don't have Joyce with us, I'm going to try and minimize what we discuss until we can bring Joyce in on this. The kiosk locks for the Bowden and Stella Hall properties. Dennis, why don't you comment on that? I know you've been doing a little bit of look at the kiosks at both of those properties there.
I did a walk on Stella Hall a few months back, and when I got there, the kiosk, the door was broken open, all the literature was ripped out. They broke the lock, and a little wood damage, but not serious. So I just put in, the door shut, taped it, and left it alone. And the same thing basically happened to the Bowden property, but I think the weather got and threw that door open.
Okay.
So either we could do locks and keys, or Joyce actually came with an idea of maybe just old-fashioned little boat locks. You know what I'm saying? Instead of doing a key and a lock. So they have to be repaired one way or another.
Right. And if we put the bolt locks on that, then anyone would be able to just open them up.
That's true, but they opened them up with the locks on Stella Hall. They broke the door up. Open. So, just an idea.
Okay, I imagine, we need to get these things repaired, so, and it may be easier just to do the old-fashioned bolt locks before we go crazy on this, because I think this kind of vandalism will probably be something that we have to deal with. It's too bad, but it's just something that happens on these things. Before we do, does anyone have any other suggestions of ways of doing a kiosk that's more vandal proof than the ones that we have? I don't want to keep going up and finding them all broken.
Can we ask what some of the other land trusts do? Maybe Rupert knows, especially more populated areas, what they do to kind of keep that safe. Get down. Dog attack.
Yeah, I was trying to remember when I walked over at the Maxwell Mays property,
Right.
their kiosk, and I'm thinking that there may be something different that we could do. I'm not sure what the material, whether it's a different tougher stuff or whatever, but instead of spending any money or improving tonight, why don't we get at least everybody take a chance. You can reach out to Rupert, and I'll take a spin over to Maxwell Mays and just take a picture of what they're using. Because I hate to just keep every 6 months spending $500
Right.
on repairing stuff.
All right, so who's going to contact Rupert? You want me to call him, or Roy, do you want to call, or?
I don't have contact information from him. If you want to, that would be fine.
Okay.
I'll call one of the other land trusts, maybe Foster or something, and see.
All right. So Dennis will reach out to Rupert to see if he has any suggestions. I'll run by Maxwell Mays and see what they're doing over there. And Rory's going to reach out to one of the other land trusts and
Okay.
get feedback as for ways to have kiosks that are maybe less vandal proof. All right. Any other discussion on the kiosk? All right. We need to try and get those, hopefully prior to fall here and before our next meeting, at least get our ideas together, and so we can have a final plan for the next meeting. All right, moving on to old business. We've got a couple of properties that we've been talking about, and one is the Grasset property down at Mumford Street. And I don't know if we have any updates or any correspondence that has come back from Mr. Grasset.
I spoke to Mr. Grasset, and I also spoke to George. And the two of them right now are starting to talk again. But George wants to donate all of that, 2+ acres to the town if he can do it. The two haven't come on an agreement of how they want to, set a price for that small piece of property, which is about 22 by 74, 76. So at this point, there's no decision on how they want to do that. So I don't know where we go from there, you know what I'm saying? And George did send a letter to Nick Gorham asking if, the town of the land trust could accept his property. And as far as I know, he mentioned to me he hasn't heard anything back. So we're kind of still at a standstill. Now, they were going to try to get to this meeting tonight by phone, so I'm not sure what happened.
I think Ed or Russ said that Mr. Boxtel was on.
Oh, he also, okay. So, does he have a point?
Yeah, George is on. He's listening to this. Yes.
Okay.
George, why don't you do your point of view?
Excuse me.
If George wants to speak, Ed, what does he have to press to raise his hand? A 9?
It's
Ed?
on,
6? Is it 6?
Mr. Wazika?
he's on mute.
I will bring him in if you'd like me to bring him in right now.
It's up to you. I mean, Glenn, do you want him to be brought in just for this discussion?
Yeah. Just for this discussion, I think he's part of this, so we can see at least.
Right, I've just brought him in. George, please unmute.
How does he do that on the phone?
Hello,
You're
this is
unmuted.
George. Can you hear me?
Hey, George.
Hey, George.
Hello.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, right now, I could do a couple of different things that might work, but these will all have to be run past Nick Gorham. One is I can make the donation of that strip of land to the land trust. That's simple. That's step one. Step two, what I would like to do is I would like to Then once I've donated that, donate the land, period, just a straightforward donation, I would like to donate an easement across my property,
Glenn.
a conservation easement
I
across
hate to
my
bother you this
entire-
late at night, but I just got a call from,
Ed, you need to go.
in reference to, I guess you're gonna start pile driving again tomorrow.
You need to mute.
Bottom.
Ed,
He's got a lot of concern going on.
Ed, you need to mute. There we go.
okay. All right, go ahead, Judge.
Yeah, I would like to give the land trust a conservation easement across the entire site. I would retain ownership of it so that the land trust would not have to deal with DEM or any of the other issues, but it would be, I think it would be kind of nice if you folks decide that you want Gary's property to have the entire pond and the ability to walk the entire perimeter of the pond. I think it would be an excellent, make that site very, very nice and useful. That would also give you areas for the public to park.
Yeah.
Those are my thoughts.
I think, my personal opinion, I'll let the other members speak. I think that that's a viable idea. Again, all of that requires the town and the legal and everybody to review all the components of this. And of course, that would be also contingent upon us being able to acquire Mr. Grassett's lot. So I'm glad you participated with that information. Jack, Dennis, Rory, your comments?
Well, Jack, do you want to?
I think there's a lot of merit to that, that we should, move in that direction.
Okay.
I think it makes sense. It's a good deal.
Okay, I only have one question. What about the dam that's there?
The dam that's there would be a problem unless I get a conservation easement placed on the whole property, which would prohibit anyone from building a residence on the site. Then the dam becomes a not significant hazard dam, according to DEM's rules. So if I can donate the property, it can then be used. If I don't donate the property and I hold it as private property, I can't build on it. So you can see my motivation for wanting to donate it. It becomes useful.
Okay. I think our biggest issue here is that the technical and all the legal sides that have to be accomplished to make sure that the town is satisfied. And again, it also would be contingent upon the land trust being able to acquire the Grassett property. So the combination of the two, it's like a good win for all of us. But we have a lot of legal, technical stuff that has to be done. And I think you said you had reached out to Nick. So I'll go back to Russ and say, what would our next action to do to see the potential of this donation, conservation easement, and all the technical stuff involved with that property to make sure that the town is satisfied that they're not taking on any risk that they don't want to assume.
Sounds fair to me.
Were you looking for an answer from me, Dennis?
No,
No,
I was trying to say what in this particular situation, which is a little bit, it's almost like a whole package would have to be structured, and the legal side of the conservation, the donation, the the property itself, the Boxtel property, to get the right of way, get the conservation easement and all this other stuff that's what's possible out there without getting the town into a situation of liability of a dam or liability of things that the town doesn't want to do. We need to, obviously this is complex and needs a lot of, time to be thought out as to how to structure it, including we still have to negotiate with Mr. Grassett to see whether he's, interested in still, we never fully negotiated and came up with a proposal. We were just discussing because we didn't have the right of way. So what would our next, step to sort of work on this be?
I think we need to get Nick to, put it in a package and have him look at it. The dam is what concerns me the most. And I worry, Glenn, as you know, I believe people own 4 dams, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And I know you prepared all your reports, you've just finished all your annual reports. What concerns me is that the town council will be frightened by accepting those dams. I mean, I'm not sure if this dam is, I know the different, if it's a high hazard, if it's significant, I don't know what it's labeled as, but either way, I think it would intimidate them. And I think we would have to allay their fears that it wouldn't be, people think, oh, it's a high hazard dam, but it's only labeled a high hazard dam because if it breached, it affects, it could destroy property and life. That's the only reason why. It's not that it's in danger of failing. But I think we need to, have a sit down with Nick, maybe a couple members of I don't know if we can get him to a land trust meeting, but maybe we have a meeting, and lay everything all out, bring a couple members, as many members as we can without having a quorum, maybe, and lay everything out and see what his take is on it. And I think at some point, sooner than later, we should start thinking about reaching out to the council.
Okay. So I guess what we should do is probably have Mr. Boxtel, yourself and Nick, along with either myself and Dennis, have a meeting and just go over the actual proposal. So Nick has a good understanding of what, these easements and, ownership and what kind of, if Mr. Boxtel retains ownership, but is it a conservation easement on the property? Does that expose the town, to liability of the dam? I mean, that's I think that's all good questions for Nick. And I think you're right. The council is going to be, obviously we don't want to take on anything that's going to require cost in the future to repair. Not that it needs anything, like you say, everyone hears the word high hazard and they think it's going to fall apart and flood the world. But so let's see if we can get a meeting in the next couple of weeks. Russ, I've got a couple other things to reach out to you with anyway. So
yes, we do.
And so I'll reach out to you, and we'll reach out to you, Mr. Boxdale, to set up a meeting with Nick. We'll go over the specifics, and at least he'll have something that he can understand that we're interested in. So does everyone on the land trust agree that should be our next step to at least get that portion of this thing moving?
Yes.
I agree.
Okay. All right. So
Has Nick physically seen the location of the dam? And does DEM have anything written about the structural integrity of the dam or the structure itself that the council can see and Nick can see?
Yes, that information is available. I can provide that to you.
Okay.
Okay, so what I would do, Mr. Boxer, when we get all this, when we get the meeting with Nick, bring everything that you have. I know Nick may have already seen some of it, but that way we can all make a copy of it and have the documents and various things that you're looking at and what your proposal is that you're, want to see or would like to see happen. So that way we can say this is doable. We just have to have this, this, and this, or it's not doable. It's not something that the town would want to take on. And it's, as Russ said, the earlier we get something in front of at least the council to discuss, at least on that, the conservation on the dam itself or the land right there would be, they're going to have a lot of questions as they usually do with property and potential risks that the town may encounter. All right, so we'll get back to you. I'll talk with Russ and we'll set up a meeting as soon as we can to move on this.
That sounds very good to me.
Hi, George. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
All right, then I'm going to sign off.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thank you. You too, George.
Okay,
I'll make
and-
this.
Go ahead.
Would it make sense in parallel to be talking to Gary to see what he's willing to number-wise go with?
Well, I would reach back out to him and make a phone call to Gary and tell him that we're going to be meeting with Mr. Boxdale regarding his property, and make sure that Gary's still on board, with potentially, if he's changed his mind and wants to do something else, then there's no, that changes this whole thing. But if you could reach out to him and say, we had some discussion and we're going to be meeting with him and the town's legal representation to review a possible proposal on that property. So to keep him in the loop. All right. Thanks, Dennis.
Yep. I'll talk to him again tomorrow.
Okay. All right. And while I want to stop here for a minute, did we ever get Joyce into our loop?
We did not. I tried, I called her 3 times. The first 2 times it was busy. The third time I got through and she never picked up and went straight into her voicemail.
Okay. All right. Well, like we intentionally kept this agenda short, so we won't make any real hard actions here, obviously. The Kavanaugh property, have we had any additional feedback from?
I talked to Leah, and because of short notice, she's not going to be able. She can't make the meeting tonight.
Yeah.
It wasn't enough time for her to reschedule her, to get here tonight. But
Okay.
the things that she's interested in, there was a letter I did back in April. I think Brian was still here. She sat with her financial planner, and they came up with the approach of, would it be possible to do development rights and a living trust? And the third and last would be, a business plan for an income-producing area. So I said, of course, we'll present it as a land trust and see how we want to approach it. But development rights are not on this agenda, and that might be my error. I might not have put it on the, the suggested items. So can I just tell her to maybe next month, September 10th, give her time to get arrangements and have her see if she can put her 2 cents in, so to speak?
I think the next step with that was to actually, and I think maybe we discussed this, that we talked about looking at what the proposal, her proposal would be, and that's something that the town obviously, with the retreat event center, has would, have to look at in combination with the land preservation. So I think again, and Russ, you can tell me if I'm wrong, this, because it's a little complex, it's not a straight property donation. There's some other technical things. This is, we should probably get a written proposal from her and meet with, Nick and Russ and maybe Ed.
I don't mean to interrupt, but I think the business plan part is kind of off the table, but not 100% sure yet. Her first
Right.
two items were development rights, and a house, I believe, is on that lot as a total aspect. And the second thing is a living trust, which, you know, in this case would be at least over my head, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But I think the business plan part is now might be off the table, but I can speak to her tomorrow and see if it's still on the table and tell her to get a business plan put together. But
Yeah.
as
So,
planner,
so
I think she rearranged things around. She's made a development rights number one, a living trust number two, income producing maybe a number three, but not a guarantee.
right. So I think what, and again, certainly chime in, Jack and Rory. I think what we need is just a written proposal from her, what she really wants to do, because we can't probably evaluate option A, option B, option C. What does she really want to do, and we can proceed with reviewing it, with all these caveats of how trusts work and various things, whether it's a property donation, easement, conservation, so, and then again, I think that's something that we want to have Nick and review. It all sounds good, but I think we just need a solid proposal on what her best direction that she's thinking right now. So I know the world's changed and stuff, and various things are changing, but just so we can have something that we really can work on and say this is something that we can get the town to support and get involved with. The business proposal, that was sort of one of the tough things for us to deal with. Jack, how about you? Your thoughts?
I think we need some clarification there.
Rory?
I agree, because I think when we talked about an event center or something else, things have changed so much that that's not even on the table in most situations.
Okay. So Dennis, and I hate to burden you with, I know you're our facilitator and things. If you could reach out to her and say what we'd like to have is, her wish, in writing, so we can follow up. And she's certainly welcome if she can attend the next Zoom meeting. But maybe prior to that, if we have something we can have, that we can at least get to Russ, and possibly off to Nick to review, so we don't spend an hour at a meeting discussing stuff that's, that we've got some technical issue with, that we can send back to her so she can say, well, that's not,
They wanted.
acceptable in the town or whatever. And it may be very simple that she's just talking about the trust and donation and living trust, that she can live there, and then donate the property, which I know has been done in a lot of locations, and that may be something very simple for us to deal with. So I'd certainly just like to have something, for Nick and Russ to take a look at the, and if it's in just something in writing, her ideas, then they can say, well, these are the issues we have to consider, because I don't know whether we have all the expertise to ask all the right questions, but if she's going to be able to attend the next meeting, we would like to be able to ask those questions.
So I'll suggest to her that the three items she's interested in, put them in some, 1, 2, 3 bases that you care for, a general synopsis or general, viewpoint of what you want to do, why you want to do it, and make sure she can try to attend our next meeting. Does that sound like the right approach?
I think that's a good approach. And once you get that stuff from her in writing, send it off to Russ and Nick, so they have it to just take a look at, so they can review it. We can't discuss it obviously until the meeting, so I just send, forward the information to Russ and Nick, so they can have some ideas in the back of their heads already as for what this proposal really looks like.
I'll speak to her tomorrow also.
Okay. All right. Any other discussion on the Kavanaugh property? That's down on Ledge Road, and it would be nice to help preserve that whole block. of property there next to the stuff that we just acquired, and also the Bowden property. All right, moving on to the next McGuire property. That was our site walk. And since we don't have Joyce with us, I'm gonna hold on this at this point, other than that we do, technically have to go over those reviewing and the scoring sheets, but I would like to have Joyce's input as a group as we review this. I think it's only fair that everybody's comments and get put together on our scoring sheets. Does anyone feel that they need to rewalk the property or at this point?
I think my memory's working so far, so I'm
Okay.
happy.
I'm all set.
I'm good.
Okay, so is it agreeable that we just hold on going over scoring sheets until Joyce can participate with us?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, we'll move on. All right, the big news. Let's talk about Heritage, and I'll either let Russ or Dennis give us, or maybe Russ should give us all the good news that we've got so far from this and where we're at.
Yeah, basically where we're at, Nick and I, we worked very hard to be early part of the summer to make this whole thing. We were constantly preparing documents, writing deed descriptions and everything. And we, obviously you all know the sale's taking place. The town got the money. And the only thing, and I forgive me, I forget the woman I was, Michelle, can't remember her last name.
I can't remember
The only,
either.
I can't either. It'll come to me. But the only thing that has been not, that to my knowledge, that needs to be finalized on this is the plan that we have to do. Remember, Dennis, you gave me those pictures?
Yep. You
Yeah,
want some
and
summer
she-
pictures?
And right, and she told me that, she goes, Russell, I don't need that before the sale. She goes, don't kill yourself, but there is documents I need. So she told me, she goes, as long as you get it to me within 6 months after the purchase of the sale of the property, she goes, it's okay. So I do know that I have that to finish. It is on my task of things to do, one of many. And, but that's, I think we're at. I think it's great. I mean, it was nice. It was nice to see that that whole deal come together. You guys did a great job on that. And Brian did too. I mean,
Yes.
Brian did a fantastic job on that grant application.
Would that
Yeah,
be
sir.
Michelle Sheehan?
Michelle Sheehan, thank you, Jack.
Okay.
Dennis, do you have anything you would like to offer?
Well, I think it's a great thing. We did good as a team. The team is what made it work. The only question I have is, do you want some summer pictures, or are those fall pictures all right for?
No, I think the fall pictures are fine. Thank you. Thank you.
I guess the next thing, well, one thing I would like to send a letter as chairman of the land trust to Brian to thank him on his work for, I know he has been championing this for a long time and helped prep us through a lot of stuff. And again, Dennis and the whole team did a lot of work here, and certainly you, Russ, to pull it all together. It's a big accomplishment for the town getting the grant. It's a big accomplishment for land preservation in that block. I think we're all very happy. So I will send a letter. Do you have any contact information, Russ, that you can send me an email?
No, I can send you his home address tomorrow if you'd like.
So, yes, if you would, so I can send him a thank you. I want to make sure that he realizes that we do appreciate everything that he did to help champion this project, because that was when I came on that he was still pushing and was been on the table for a while. So that's great. What do we do and we haven't done, or for a press announcement, do we feel that, I was hoping during land trust days, which we're not going to really participate in because of the current situation, but is there anything that we should let the local
I'm going to
press
bring
cover?
Ed. Can you come in for a minute, please? Mr. Wazika? Ed, are you there, sir?
I'm back. Go ahead.
Thank you. I wanted your input on this. We're looking, I'm sorry, Greg, could you just explain to him?
Well, I think this,
yeah.
this is a great accomplishment, the town acquiring heritage estates and getting the RIDM open space grant. And, should we do a press release to let everybody know that it's now been accomplished, the deal is done, that the town is the proud owner of this 96 acres of land, just some notice to the public that something good actually has happened this summer.
No, I don't see a problem. That would be great to do a press release on that. That would be excellent.
Okay.
I can get together with Russ and we can discuss and put out what we need to put out on that. That would be good.
Do you mind if I give it a first shot and I send it out to the board members to take a look at?
Nope, I have no objection to that at all, Russ.
I was asking the board.
Oh.
I think that's fine, Russ.
Sounds good to me.
Dennis, you have enough on your plate. I don't want to give you anything else.
Yeah.
All right, next week I will, I'll draft something together. I'll send it out and we'll take it from there. And we'll get a press release going.
Excellent.
Thank you, Rob.
Okay.
Okay, so that completes that. Is there any other discussion on heritage? All right. We talked, one of the things that we did talk about, that the owner of the land and again, renaming it from Heritage Estates, which sounds like a housing development, to, and now I shouldn't draw the blank on the name.
Mr. Sullivan.
Jan Sullivan.
And yeah, the property that Janice Sullivan, in memory of Janice Sullivan, but not so much in memory, but the name. Obviously, she was a principal at Weston Coventry School, a well liked principal. So maybe, and again, Russ and maybe Ed, I don't know how we go about that. Is that something that the council, we call it Heritage Estates just because that's what it was going to be, a piece of property with a whole bunch of houses. But I think there's merit to the owner wanting the property in the name of Janice, or the description of the property.
Oh, sorry, that was me responding. Ed, do we need to just pass a quick, simple council resolution saying, this property will now be known as the Janice Sullivan Conservation Area or whatever? Thank you, sir. Okay. I'll talk to him about it tomorrow.
Okay, if you could just run that by and I think that would be great. I think it would be really appropriate for this property. Okay, thanks.
Just one quick question. Are we going to create a signage for that, or just call it in principle Mrs. Sullivan's property?
I think once we find that that's the name, and that should be part of the press release, so we might not get the press release out immediately, but it might be shortly after this. But if the council or whatever we have to do, and then our signage would, for the property, and then our maps and everything that we do should, reflect Janice Sullivan, conservation area.
We talked about maybe having the high school, one of the high school programs create and make the sign.
We did.
Yeah.
And right after that,
yep,
the COVID hit.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
I mean, literally, it was like the next week there was no school.
Right.
So, that still is on the back burner.
Yep.
All right, perfect. So I think, does anyone else have any discussion? And we're all, I think we had all agreed that that would be appropriate.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, I'll leave it at that. Russ has got a couple action items on that. Let's go with the ongoing property management related item 7 on the agenda. Bowden and Stella Hall properties. I'll again let Dennis and Jack speak on what they have seen and what they have done for work.
Actually, you want to discuss what we did in July?
You can handle that.
Okay, all right. Well, to make it, kind of simple, we opened up the trail, got rid of a lot of hangover bushes and tree limbs, worked our way down to where we got to the greenway, and we opened that all the way up. So, from the greenway, if we had a kiosk there, you could come from the greenway, because Candace was doing the greenway, and she works for the State Land Trust, and she mentioned, she knows what our entrance is now, and you can see the yellow markings where you can now take that trail down, kind of do a loop, and then go right back out. So the idea is we did our yearly maintenance of, cleaning up, making sure the path was, and we actually cut up pieces of trees that fell over the trail. So we were there about a couple of 3 hours, but when we left, it was perfect. It opened everything up nice. It was beautiful. And the other 2 trails, Jack, I think we said we would try to do by the end of summer, right?
We'll do it in the fall, yeah.
Okay, in the fall. All right.
September and October.
Okay.
All right. So the other 2 remaining trails, that's when we'll do those. Now, Stella Hall, we got to get to that one. But the first thing is to get that kiosk repaired. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we've done basically at this point on those 2 properties.
Okay. Well, thanks for the update on that. I know we had some wind this last tropical storm, so we may find a few more pieces of debris down on there, and I'll try and take a walk myself. Maybe even tomorrow, go for a walk down. And on my birthday, I'll celebrate with a little walk through our trails there. That's good. I appreciate that you guys took the time to do that. That's great.
Well, let us know if we can go back if we have to, right?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Okay, yeah.
All right.
Okay. So general trail system discussions, I'm going to sort of, unless we have something hot to add on that, I think we do want to work on our property boundary markers and get them up into position. And we did some discussion. Dennis, do you got some info on mapping? I know there was some correspondence there that you've been working on with that.
Well, we're trying to create some new trails with the State Land Trust. Additional trails on Bolton, and then take another look at the Stella Hall before Land Trust Days, which we're not going to do this year. But we kind of backed off when the virus showed up, so that's kind of on hold at the moment. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But what I'd like to, if we can, I don't know if it's like we had our 3 key properties that we started looking at, when I first came on board in 2018. Bolton's pretty much established. People walk it, they know it's there. It's got a parking area, so the word is getting out. All right, Stella Hall is going to be Land Trust Days. We got a little bit more work to do there, but that'll be a piece of cake. But now the one on the trail development plan that we put together, Mahoney was the 3rd piece of property to be done before we went into any others. And we always had a problem getting to the property, even though we have, forgot the name of the organization, but they already laid out a trail for us. We just have to create it, put it in there. But that entrance that we have now is from Forest Ridge.
Mm-hmm.
So somehow or another, we got to start deciding what we're going to do at Forest Ridge, because that's the only entrance. Unless we want to try to do something with our right-of-way, but last time I tried to bring it up a backdoor approach, we can't do anything with that because of the wetlands and the idea of being a right of way if you need emergency equipment, of course. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I think Stella Hall, I'm not Stella Hall, but Forest Ridge might help in that trail development layout that we talked about 3 years ago, almost.
Okay, and the other thing with the Janet Sullivan property, I'll stop calling it Heritage, but Janet Sullivan, we had pretty much, when we walked it initially, the logging trail, and then we walked all the way up to the back, and then it actually goes straight, over to Bowden property there, right up at the Ledge Road. That probably could be developed fairly quickly because there's already pretty much the trail there.
So do we want to switch from Mahoney to doing the Sullivan property?
Well, I think, and we know we've got some discussion points that with the Forest Ridge access and all that. So, and we still do need to tackle that and get all the issues resolved or potential neighbor issues or whatever. That's what we'll put on, when we get to that point. But I'm thinking that we should, while that logging trail, or that it's still, the brush hasn't grown in, that we can still find our way in this fall when the leaves come off the trees. It's easier to go in and see that we just tie that trail and don't lose it across the property there, and make sure that we know that we keep it that mark to extend, because that would get us quite a link across the area, I think.
All right, so plans are made to be changed. That's easy.
Yeah, and the only reason why I'm proposing that is that because we don't want to lose what's already cleared or and I don't think it's a lot of work for us to go mark that trail. You and Jack are expert trail markers. So if we can I think it just ties that complex together, and it's fairly easy for us to do our work to get a nice little trail done.
Jack, Dennis, the two people who came to the McGuire property, Tyler and Lauren, have been asking me about opportunities to go do some clearing of the trail. So when you guys go out again, let me know and we'll join you.
Absolutely.
Good.
Sounds good, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
The more hands, the better.
That's what I think too. And they're young. Or younger than us, I should say. They're younger than us.
Good.
Well,
All right. Do we have any other discussion on trails at this point? All right.
Another thing, I did not circle back to Kevin LaRose about doing any of the aerial footage, and I just figured we'll keep that on hold. Maybe again to the fall. He said that's really better viewing. In the fall, you can kind of see the trail. So I will circle back to him maybe next month. Maybe things will be a little better, different.
Okay, good. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I think, we talked about having a nice little package of stuff and links on our website when we get to that point with the videos, the trail maps and all that stuff. I think that'll be stuff we can work on, and that just goes on where we had talked with the school, and Dennis and I had met with the superintendent about the possibility of having the school kids, the high school kids that are working on this geo stuff, and they have a lot of technology to get them involved. And of course, we're all in this same boat right now that nothing much is really happening, but or safely happening. So we'll keep that on the agenda though, because we still want that to be something that happens. And that will be really good. So with that, we'll move on. So the September 10th, which is our normal Tuesday meeting, Thursday meeting in September. Do we have issues that we want to add to the agenda, other than our standard ongoing stuff? Does anybody have anything new that they want to discuss, so Laurie can capture it in the minutes here so we can get it on the agenda.
Is there anything about the sale of Camp Green or the Mahoney property or the status of those properties new?
Camp Green, last time I talked to Bill, he was going to let me know if he was able to get someone to look at those buildings.
Those
That
outbuildings?
So I haven't heard from him, and right now I don't think I expect to hear from him, because last time I talked to him, the concern people had was the virus. That's the statement I got from him. So I haven't made contact with him in a good probably month and a half. So
Yeah, 'cause I didn't see the for sale sign at the Mahoney property anymore, although I saw
It's
people
been sold.
clearing. It's been sold? Oh, okay.
It has, yes.
Yep.
They finally found someone. I worked with so many different buyers they would call, and the problem was each buyer that wanted to turn it into a commercial entity.
Right.
And Mr. and Mrs. Mahoney, they didn't want that. They wanted it to remain a
Family home.
pastoral farm with horses and such. So finally, we found, not we, but a buyer was found who met all the criteria. He wanted to have his own horses there, no commercial activity. And I know Tim was very glad that he finally found a buyer, because they're tough to come by on a piece of property like that.
Mm.
And is there any word on a replacement for Brian filling that position?
We've done a couple interviews. We have not found anybody as of yet. We've been advertising. We've got resumes. After we did the interviews, we were not ready to make a decision yet. Then we're waiting. We've been kind of waiting for the budget whole thing to
Sure.
take its course. We want to see where that brings us, dollar-wise in the town, I guess.
Sure.
Thank you, Russ.
What? So that's where we're at with that.
Okay. All right. Any other issues or things, items for the next meeting to September 10th to add to the agenda?
I do have a question. Can I bring up a question for the town manager before he leaves? Ed,
Yep.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, sir.
Okay. What I'd like to know is, there's been discussion about, last time we met and tonight here, we have money in an account to spend. I know when this whole COVID thing, you came down on us and said you didn't want any department spending any money. Anything in excess of 250 had to get cleared through you. I know we don't have a budget right now. What I'm trying to find out is, does the Lands Trust still have that same amount of money we had back in February in our account? And how does that work, with the money? I'm just curious. I'm asking you a question.
One, I don't know how much is in your account right now, but that is separate and apart because that is set aside every year based on the budget. Based on the collection on the tax stamps. So that is
No, but not that money. That money comes on, this money, that's the money for the purchase of the properties. We are given money, the town gives us money to spend on advertising, trail maintenance, signage, a small stipend. I'm thinking it's somewhere around $3,000.
That is still in the budget. What you had, what was proposed by our budget, whatever you had put in for this year's budget, Russ, is still there. And based on the way we're working, it's there.
But it's still there from last year. No, or do I have new monies?
You have new money this year, correct?
That's all I wanted to know. I just wanted to make sure there was money there, that's all.
Yep, whatever you had put in for this year's budget is there at this point.
Thank you.
It will not decrease.
I thought we were going to go with the funds that we originally had before this budget year, which I thought was about 10.4 or 10.6. Well, if I understood it just right, we just dropped it down to 3,000.
I said 3,000. I don't know what the number is.
I don't know off the top of my head how much the land trust budget was. Whatever was put in there for the budget, for the FY21 budget, that's what's in there right now. There's no change.
I will find out and get back to you all. I just wanted to know where we at if we had money to spend.
Yes, you do. You do.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, and just the follow-up on that. So I know the budget that was proposed for 21, and this may be what Dennis is thinking of, was less for some of for the land trust than what we had in the previous year. So how do these actions on the budget that's going on right now, how do they impact that? What is the ongoing, because I haven't followed the town stuff and how that would impact just within the individual, like the land trust, if whatever happens next with the next vote here.
I'm not taking that one, boss.
Whatever was put in for the FY21 land trust budget is effectively what you're going to have for this upcoming year.
Well, okay, can I ask you a question then?
Sure.
We are not going to be afforded another opportunity to do any modifications to our budgets. Is that what you're saying?
At this point, no, there will be no modifications to our budget at this
Just the
point.
school department? Okay. We're good. It wasn't meant for a response.
Thank you.
All right, so again, we do have at least what was put in to start and go. So we could, if we needed to get some blocks or some supplies for the kiosk, we have some money to spend.
Yeah, I just don't know off the top of my head what was put in for this year's budget for you guys.
Yeah, we've got it somewhere. We'll get back on track, obviously. So just what's the timeline? Where are we on these budget stuff, so we know what's locked in, so when we start tracking our actual budget that's approved now and what we're spending, what is the timeline of the votes, and when is everything finalized, at least in your opinion?
Once we put a new budget forward to the council, which unless something changes drastically, it's going to be the same budget that was originally put in for the municipal side. Nothing's going to change over what was originally put in for your budget.
Okay.
So whatever we put in then is what we're going to have now. When it's finalized, that's what you'll have. But again, off the top of my head, I don't know what that number is.
Yep, we can look that up. I think we saw the proposed. Yep. All right. Thanks, Ed.
Welcome.
All right. Any other agenda items for the next agenda? September 10th meeting. All right.
Should I go back and, because of the virus, maybe try to get back to some idea of talking to people about, creating a fund for donations? Or should I leave those items off the agenda and just check to bare bones of what we have to get done?
Well, our donation thing, remember that was going to be a conversation with our town treasurer, and we were going to meet obviously in March, and obviously that got lost. So we were going to have a meeting with him and set up, how our documentation. So you can add it to the agenda, your stuff that, things that are follow up. Obviously we learned, and like I said, without Joyce, I don't want to go too far, but you can start adding that back just to get us back on track. And hopefully after
to get to Russell. Suggested item. Okay. So
yeah, you can give him that suggested item, certainly.
Okay.
And we'll probably be Zoom meeting, I'm sure, next time. So we've got to work with Joyce and work with everybody to test out how to get their PCs or iPads or whatever you're using to dial in to get going, and maybe we can help Joyce with something.
I don't know what she has for a phone, but a lot of the planning commission members, they just use their regular phone.
Yeah.
I don't know if she has a smartphone.
If she has a smartphone, we can get her in through that.
Right.
All right. So I'll try and reach out to her and we'll do some work with her one-on-one and make sure that she's got access. I don't know why she was able to dial in and then hung up, and then we can't call her. So I don't know whether her phone got locked out or what, but okay.
If you have her give me a call, I will work with her and get set up so she can get in properly for the next time. So it's
Yeah,
it's
she,
not
I
a
mean, she
problem.
works
Just
at the
have her call
library.
me.
She can come over and see you.
Exactly. Have her come over and see me, and we'll go from there if I have to.
Okay, perfect.
Tomorrow? Should I call her tomorrow to tell her to go visit Ed?
Yeah, why don't you do that? And, you can give her an update as for what we, obviously we didn't cover anything or have any major votes here of action, but have her talk with Ed, and that way she can do a test and make sure she can have contact, because we definitely want her input on, we want to do that site walk discussion on the property off of Trestle Trail. Thanks, Dennis.
I'll do that first thing tomorrow morning also.
Okay. The other thing, and while Ed's still listening, I think we were looking for an additional couple members to join to get our numbers back up to where we're supposed to be for membership. And I know it's been tough with all this. Do we know whether anyone has applied for any positions on the land trust, or?
I don't know. We ran an ad. We ran an ad in the Times. I'm going to say about 4 weeks ago. I have not spoken with the town clerk. I don't know if anybody has applied.
I will find out on that if they have. Unfortunately, she is out right now, but I will get a hold of her deputy, and we will check to see if there are any applicants who are interested in joining the land trust.
Yeah, could we also, Ed, post that on the town's, the webpage also?
If it isn't, I will make sure it goes on there.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Because I believe there was about 9 or 10 positions over like 6 or 7 boards, there was a whole bunch.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, we could really it would help us with quorums, it'd help us be able to do some additional work. So, and if we don't have anybody that's put in, then it means that us land trust members need to go out and campaign and reach out and do some more community outreach to get people to step forward. So, certainly, Ed, you can either send or let Russ know. Russ, you can send me an email if we do have some viable, some people that have put in. That's great. I'd like to get them appointed as fast as we can through the council. And the same way, if not, then we've got some work to do to go out and get some people.
Right. Okay.
All right. Is there any other business that we need to cover tonight? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion's made by Jack Donovan. Who seconds? Dennis seconds. Any further discussion? No further discussion. All in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It's unanimous. None opposed. 7:56 p.m. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ed, I'm going to call you right now.
Good to
Thanks.
see everybody.
Good night.
Take care. Stay
Good night,
healthy.
Laurie.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
I'll see you next week, Laurie.
Bye.